Okay, so it's a bit late to do this. I know it's been over 24 hours, well, close to 24 hours since all three of these games have been finished, and also the Campeones Cup that happened last night. But still, we're going to do it now, and I'm going to do the preview for the weekend's game tomorrow. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of things that happened in these three midweek games and also in the Campeones Cup. We had surprising results. We had a lot of goals in this game. And also, we have a big controversy. And I'm actually going to start with this because this has been the big talking point throughout these three games. And, to this day, after what I've been seeing everybody said and seeing different opinions about what happened during that incident in the 67th minute where the Quakes, of course, looked like they were 4-1 up. And if you even watch my match vlog, which, by the way, it is out now, so make sure you guys watch that, I was celebrating like we were up 4-1. Like, it looked like we were taking a commanding 4-1 lead, and we actually might be shocking MLS again by beating the best team in the league. But instead, the goals was disallowed because there was a handball roughly about 30-40 seconds ago. I know some people said that actually happened a minute or 2 minutes. I can confirm that it actually happened like 30 seconds ago. And yeah, I mean, I've been hearing both sides of it. There's definitely been some different opinions. Obviously, as a Quakes fan, I know that I'm going to have to give sort of a biased opinion in terms of this, but I'm trying to stay as unbiased as possible. But at the end of the day, I still think we got robbed in this game. And I think that call was just a ridiculous call. And I understand that, in terms of VAR, when they implement it, there is this rule where it says that, if you have a call that you need to look at VAR, you will do it when the next stoppage has come. And turns out in this, the next stoppage was actually the goal that Wando has scored. And I know some people said that, well, that was the next stoppage, so what are you complaining about? What I'm complaining about is that it took way too long. And I think this next stoppage kind of rule where the ref can look at VAR and look at the previous play needs to be correct. Because I think this is incredibly harsh on the Quakes. And also, if this happens again, I think this is incredibly harsh on that team. And when we use VAR, there should be no point during the time when we use VAR where we had to kind of like time travel back and just had to refresh our memory to try to see what happened. And believe it or not, nobody knew what happened. I mean, when this play happened, me, myself, and also 16,000 fans that was watching that game had no idea that what exactly happened. And I think one of the biggest things that we had no idea what happened was because they didn't show the replay on the big screen, which I'm not quite sure if this only happens at Avaya Stadium, but I don't get why in the world do they not show it on the big screen when there's like a VAR. Like, it's almost as if when the ref goes to VAR, it's secret, all right? He's keeping this secret footage to himself and not let all the fans to see, and we just end up being clueless, and we had to go back and look at the replay to see what exactly it is. Again, I'm not sure if this is just at Avaya Stadium or all over the league. If this is all over the league, that is another thing we got to fix. But the other thing that we got to fix is determine this rule. And I just feel like either you let go of the play that has happened at this certain amount of time, or you just stop it right away. Like, if there's like a promising attack, or not promising attack, but as soon as you see a call that for sure that you have to look at VAR, just blow the whistle. Even if the ball is still in play, just blow the whistle. And I think that is something that happens in hockey too, when they had to like review something, they had to like blow the whistle and stop plays and stuff like that. Do it in soccer too. Why not do it in soccer? Why not kind of implement this similar rule to soccer, like what hockey is doing, or just don't go back at it? And that is also the other thing that I think people will kind of argue about me, of how, if there's a foul happening, you have to go back to it. And this is another thing that I also want to talk about in terms of this rule, and how, from what I'm seeing in this season and ever since VAR has implemented, I have seen a couple of times where this rule has been very inconsistently implemented. I remember back in the Seattle Sounders versus Minnesota United game. I'm not quite sure that I really talk about this a lot. Well, I think I did in that preview or that review. But what happened in that incident was it had something very similar to this, where the Sounders they were given a penalty after one of the Sounders player went down. I forgot who exactly it was, and then the referee did not call that play. Minnesota went on the counterattack, and it looked like Minnesota was going to score that goal. Eventually, they didn't score that goal, and I think it was Quintero that was looking to score that goal and pretty much put that game to bed. But he didn't score that goal, and then the referee had to look at VAR, and then it turns out that foul that Minnesota commit earlier, that is actually a foul, and the referee says it's a penalty. So it was very similar to what happened in this case. But here's the other example of when this rule is not implemented. I think this was also a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the DC United versus NYCFC game, where it was right around the 51st minute, and there looked like there was a handball for NYCFC. They didn't call it a handball. Instead, DC United went the other way on the counterattack, and eventually it led to Steve Bourbon scoring the goal, and scoring the only goal that DC United has. And people were talking about why in the world did they not go back to or go to VAR to go back to the play that it looked like it was definitely a handball. And it was definitely a handball. When I look back at that footage, that was clearly a handball against DC United, and NYCFC should have had a penalty in that instant. But for whatever reason, the referee decided not to go back, and this is where I talk about how the referee decided to let it go, because it's been so long since that play has occurred. And ultimately, from what I'm trying to say, is that not only this rule needs to be correct, but it needs to be consistently implemented. We have seen a couple of times where it's not consistently implemented, and that is just what drives everyone crazy, and that is also just what drives me crazy. I mean, that instant just absolutely destroyed the Quakes' confidence. The Quakes were looking amazing coming into that play. I mean, we were absolutely putting Atlanta to the test, and just by far the better team in the game. But because of that play, and because of the changing momentum, and knowing that the Quakes have already been low in confidence coming into this game, that just pretty much just kills it. And combination with the fact that Atlanta is just a team that is full of confidence and certainly have the deadliest attack in MLS, it wasn't surprising that they were able to come back from this game. I mean, I know some people will be very disappointed. The Quakes just completely bottled it and just completely collapsed in the last 20 minutes. But having said that, when you had that kind of incident, it is really hard to overcome. And like I said, with the Quakes, since they are really low in confidence coming into this game, and knowing of what just happened in that play, yeah, it is going to be very hard. They would need a lot of resilience to able to keep composure and somehow able to hold on to that 3-2 lead. But at the end of the day, as much as I know a lot of people are upset about it, I know a lot of Quakes fans are furious with this result and that they clearly don't deserve to lose this game. And I do agree. We 100% did not deserve to lose the game. And it's getting to a point where even Atlanta fans are apologizing to the Quakes fan and just sending our condolence of this loss and how we just got completely robbed in this game. But at the end of the day, since we're out of the playoffs, we really have nothing to play for. The only thing we're left to play for is pride and certainly for the future. And I think that pride and certainly for the future that we play in this game, that feel like a victory for us. For the first time in this game, I actually saw the team were committed. I saw energy with this team, and I also saw good passing with this team. I think the only guy that I did not like in this game was Eriksson. He was incredibly poor in this game, and every time it seemed when he has the ball, he just completely stops the attack. He's kind of like still in that Starhay kind of mode where every time when we get to the midfield, we just don't know what to do with the ball. And, I think that was probably the only mistake Steve Ralston has made in this game, of the fact that he did not sub him off. And speaking of Steve Ralston, I'm not going to just quickly jump into conclusion and say that should be our next head coach and that, the job that he done in this game, we got to really kind of give him a look. Well, in some way we do kind of maybe give him a quick look to see maybe he could fit as our new manager. But having said that, it's been only one game. Okay, let's try not to jump to conclusion and try not to judge and say that he is going to be an amazing MLS manager after just one game. And keep in mind that one game, we also lost that one too. So, I think we still need more games to see how exactly the team play. And if the team keeps up to its form, then maybe, yeah, Ralston could potentially be our next manager. But having said that, I think it's just too early to just make this judgment and say that he definitely would fit as our next manager. But either way, after spending almost 11 minutes talking about this game, I had to talk about this one because there was a lot of controversy in this game, and it also involved my Quakes team. Let's talk about the rest of the game, and let's talk about this one. So, against all odds, Philly snapped Seattle's 9-game winning streak, and, I said that they were against all odds because they were playing on the road. They had a short rest, and they had to travel all the way across the other side of the country to play this midweek game, which usually does not do very well for the team that has to travel all the way to the other side of the country. But also the fact that they are playing a team that has not lost in 9 games or has drawn in 9 games. And I think you can even add a fourth thing in this game of the odds that they were in, is that Jack Elliott got sent off in this game. Like, when Jack Elliott got sent off in this game, I'm pretty sure everybody knew that the Union has no chance of winning this. Like, they're down to 10 men against Seattle, and somehow Seattle was going to pull through. And although the Sounders weren't really good in this game, and I think partially because Ruidíaz did kind of went off with an injury, I'm pretty sure Sounders fans are praying that Ruidíaz is okay, because he has been a big part of this winning streak and why they are having this resurgence once again. But instead, against all odds, Fafa Pico scored in the 93rd minute, and this goal was just such a bad goal to concede for Seattle. And, we talked about Seattle having a very kind of solid kind of defense. This was anything but that. I mean, Stefan Frey just basically decided to play the ball back in, and it was just a sloppy ball from him. I think he played it behind the Sounders defender, and Fafa Pico basically just pickpocketed him, and yeah, just like that, the Union stole this one away from the Sounders, and You know, this is a huge win for the Union. And I think now you can probably say the Union are going to make the playoffs this season. I mean, you know, I just think that, I know they still have a tough road coming up, but when you look at this Union team and just the resilience this team has, and the fact that I think this is a team that, you know, last week losing 4-1 to Montreal and coming into this week with all those odds stacked against them and just not with a lot of confidence, they just have so much resilience to able to pick themselves up and able to get themselves a winner. And even if they didn't get a winner, even if Fafa Pico did not get a winner in this game, this would have been an amazing result from the Union. And the fact that they actually got more than a result, but all 3 points in this game just makes me think that this Union team is going to make the playoffs, and I think they definitely deserve to make the playoffs this season. But yeah, moving on into the next match. And also, by the way, as for Seattle, I mean, you know, like the old saying, all good things has to come to an end. And unfortunately, it does come to an end for the Sounders. And now all they need to do is try to bounce back in the next game. And, you know, they still have a lot of games where they can definitely get some wins. In fact, they have just such a cakewalk schedule heading down the stretch that I just don't expect the Sounders team not missing not making the playoff this year. But moving on into the last match in this midweek game. So Portland with a 3-2 win over Columbus, and actually this was not the last game. This was actually the first game. So I'm kind of going backwards here, but Portland just able to squeeze out a victory in this game against the Columbus Crew. Goals from Guzman, Andy Polo, his first ever goal in MLS. And also, whenever this guy gets on the score sheet or on the board because of an own goal, I always just makes me not happy about it, because this name is just so hard to pronounce, but I'm going to try my best. Abubakar. I'm not quite sure did I pronounce that correctly, but basically he scored an own goal, and it was a very unlucky own goal too from him. I mean, you know, just basically the shot was coming in and he just pretty much came off of him and end up into the back of the net. And, you know, as a defender, that is probably the worst case scenario to have, because it's just such an unfortunate own goal. But in many ways, Columbus, who Hansen got a brace in this game, they probably could have easily got maybe a draw or even a win in this game. I mean, they definitely had a couple of chances of them own. Hansen probably could have had a hat-trick in this game, because early on, I think around the 12th minute, he was one-on-one with Steve Clark, and I do not know how in the world did Hansen not put that one away. And at that point, that should have been 2-0 Columbus. And if that was 2-0 Columbus, then I guarantee you this game would have been a whole lot different than what we just saw. But still, the Timbers able to get a win in this game. And this was also a game where both defense was really, really poor. I mean, some of the goals that both of these teams concede were just so preventable goal and just defensive mistake that, you know, obviously, if you're a Timbers fan, you know, you're happy with the win, but certainly the defense, that is a bit of a concern, because it was not good in this game. And it's the same case for Columbus too. I mean, I know they had the unfortunate own goal, but, you know, I think you could argue the Polo goal, where I don't know how in the world was he able to run coast to coast, well, almost coast to coast, and the fact that one of the Crew defender just basically did not clear it at all and just pretty much let it dangling in the box, and Polo just capitalized on it with kind of like an acrobatic kind of kick off the ball and into the back of the net. And yeah, I mean, you know, again, like I said, this was definitely not a good defensive display by both teams, but the Timbers were able to outlast the Crew in this game. And yeah, that of course is all three of these games. And lastly, before I end this video. Just gonna quickly talk about the Campeones Cup, which, let's just say, it was not very fun to watch. I mean, I only watched about maybe 30 or 40 minutes of the game. I actually didn't watch the first half whatsoever. But let's just say that it was definitely not a very fun game to watch. I mean, there was definitely chances for both teams in this game, but yeah, it wasn't like, it was kind of a bit of a slow pace kind of game. I mean, TFC, to be fair, really were doing very well early on and had a couple of chances to take the 1-0 lead. And then, you know, Tigres kind of with a little bit of a sucker punch, kind of a goal against the run of plays because TFC was doing so well in the first half. And then in the second half, it was pretty much Tigres the one that were the better team, and just the horrendous defending from TFC. I mean, I've been saying about TFC, the defending from them has just been really, really bad for the last couple of games. Yeah, it showed in this game too. I mean, the second and third goal were just so preventable, and those two goals came in a span of just 2 minutes. And yeah, TFC losing this game, it's very disappointing for them, but it's also very disappointing for MLS because they're representing MLS in this game, and they let Liga MX's team win this game, and now Liga MX fans will just have pretty much everything to taunt MLS again and saying that this league is garbage and that they think that our league will never catch up to Liga MX, which I'm going to counter by saying that we were playing a team that is dead last in, well, not dead last, but mostly dead last in the Eastern Conference, and are currently 8th in the Eastern Conference right now. And Tigres, I know they were coming into this game not in a good form, but still, TFC, with what they have dealt with throughout this season, it was very unlikely that they were going to win this game. And if we would have played maybe, let's say, Atlanta, for example, maybe they could have beat Tigres in this game. But either way, that is pretty much it for all of the review of the Campeones Cup and all these 3 games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these games? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.